They say peace is fleeting, and I used to brush that off as nonsense until Lisa Harper came along. My name's Jake Sullivan, a 45-year-old farmer tending 200 acres of hard-earned land in rural Tennessee. It's a place built on grit and liberty, far from the manicured lawns and cookie-cutter mailboxes of HOA territory. My property is raw-weathered fences, the hum of bees from my hives, the rich scent of damp earth after a downpour. Out here, silence carries more weight than any neighborhood memo. For years I had a quiet, respectful deal with the local homeowners association. I wasn't part of their club, never was, never will be, but I sold them fresh produce, honey jars, and handmade soaps for their gatherings. They paid promptly, stayed out of my hair, and I kept to myself. It was an unwritten agreement that suited us fine. Then about 8 months back, the HOA president, Tom Grayson, a mellow, pudgy guy with a golfer's tan, stepped down. In his place came Lisa Harper. Even her name hinted at trouble. She burst onto the scene with relentless cheer, all dazzling smiles and charisma, the type to call you, buddy, 2 minutes after meeting. She swung by my roadside stand one day, clutching a laminated clipboard, and introduced herself before DVYing into her grand plan for a tighter-knit community. "We'd love to officially bring your land into the HOA, Jake," she said, beaming like it was a PRIVY leg. "Picture the value your farm could add with a little structure and unity." I nearly spat out my coffee. "My land's private," I replied, keeping it civil but firm. "Not zoned residential, not under HOA rules." She tilted her head, still grinning. "Oh, that's just details. We're neighbors, after all, we include everyone." I let out a dry laugh. I prefer being the odd one out. She didn't press further that day, just nodded, praised my rugged dedication, and handed me a glossy packet of bylaws and VY Shown statements. I chucked it in my truck bed and peeled out. Over the next few weeks, she kept showing up and VYing me to HOA meetings just to watch, pitching collaboration opportunities between my stand and their events, even suggesting she could spruce up my driveway to match their standards. I turned her down every time. Then out of nowhere she went silent. No emails, no surprise VY sits, no backhanded gift baskets. I thought she'd finally taken the hint that maybe she wasn't as relentless as she seemed. I was dead wrong. That quiet wasn't peacey, it was the hush before a storm rips your barn apart and sends your livestock flying. A few weeks rolled by after Lisa's vanishing act, and I settled back into my routine, gearing up for harvest, stacking hay, checking irrigation, tending the bees. I let my guard slip. But then odd things started cropping up, not on my land yet, but just beyond the tree line in the neighboring subDVY Shown. It began with her house, or what it turned into. Tom had lived simply, a modest 2-story colonial, 1 car, a yappy little dog. His wildest move was 4th of July cookouts with sparklers. Lisa, though? She built a freaking mansion in 3 months. Towering white columns, a front yard fountain blaring classical tunes, and a glowing LED sign above her porch reading Harper Hall. She named her house. Next came the toys, a shiny black Escalade, always spotless, parked at an angle like a showroom display, with vanity plates reading HOA, 1. Daily lawn cruise, not weekly, daily. Word was she had heated marble floors and a wine cellar linked to her tablet. None of it added up. She had no job, no known business, no rich family history. Her HOA gig couldn't bankroll that lifestyle unless she was secretly mining crypto in her basement. Tongues wagged. She must have married money, one neighbor guessed. Real estate, another chimed in. Maybe she hit the lottery and keeps it hush-hush. But I'd seen her up close. She didn't strike me as someone sitting on hidden riches. She looked like she was spending someone else's cash. Then the letters started. One arrived hand-delivered on fancy parchment with an HOA seal like a king's edict. It demanded I adapt natural spaces within a 2-mile, VY radius to meet their cohesion standards, cut grass to 5 inches, repaint my barn in neutral tones, swap my fences for their approved wood panels. The kicker: non-compliance may lead to community re-VYEW and municipal escalation. My land's never been HOA turf, yet here they were, acting like my pasture was a blight on their perfect little world. My lawyer laughed when I showed him. "You're in the clear, Jake. She's bluffing. Don't respond." I didn't, but Lisa wasn't deterred. Soon she rolled out the HOA Harmony Outreach Program, a laughable stunt with volunteers in matching polos roaming around, offering compliance tips to non-members. One kid, A college boy named Ryan showed up at my stand with a pamphlet titled Your Farm, Their Future, Building Aesthetic Unity. I asked if it came with a cattle prod and a warrant. He scurried off. It seemed comical, like a suburban spoof, but to me it was calculated. Lisa wasn't just overreaching, she was probing limits, and I had a sinking feeling she hadn't hit hers yet. It was during my morning walks with my old shepherd, Scout, that I first noticed something off. The far edge of my land, where the trees thickened into forest, had always been still, just cicadas and squirrels, maybe a deer. I rarely went there. The soil's rocky, the woods dense, and an old, charred shed from my grandpa's time sat rotting back there. But one day, coffee in hand, I spotted fresh tire tracks deep, dual rear wheel marks cutting through the grass. Not a four-wheeler, maybe a truck or van. I figured it was a lost hunter or a utility guy off course, but then I saw another set, from a different angle, both pointing toward the shed. 2 days later, I found a cleared path, brush trimmed. Branches hauled off like someone was carving a driveway through my woods. At the end stood the shed, no longer a ruin. The overgrowth was gone, the frame shored up, a heavy-duty padlock on the door. Then I saw it, a security camera, new and sleek, mounted under the eaves. Not mine. Who puts a camera on a crumbling shed on someone else's land? I backed off, heart racing, Scout sticking close. That night, I barely slept, my mind spinning. Squatters? A hunting hideout? A drug setup? Every idea sounded insane until it didn't. 2 nights later, I was on my porch, polishing off some ribs when headlights flickered through the trees near the shed. I killed my porch light and watched from the dark. A black SUV, same make and tint as Lisa's, rolled down the path and vanished into the woods. No doubt about it, this was organized and I was in deep. The next morning, I called my lawyer. His tone turned icy. Don't go back alone, Jake. This could be big criminal, even federal. I'll get you a PI. And just like that, my simple farmer's life became a crime scene. The PI, Greg, wasn't what I expected. No trench coat, just a middle-aged guy in sneakers sipping herbal tea, tossing around terms like data-rich environments. But he was sharp. 2 days later, he showed up, grilled me with questions, then pulled a drone from his SUV. Let's see what's really going on, he said, launching it over the tree line. The footage was unreal. The shed was a fortress, now reinforced walls, a portable AC unit, a half-buried generator humming in the back. Greg zoomed in. Thermal signatures active. They're keeping something cold, drugs, maybe worse. Then Lisa's Escalade rolled up. She stepped out in latex gloves and heels, unlocked the shed with a key card, and met a guy who handed her a tablet. She checked it, nodded, and loaded 2 black crates into her trunk. I watched fury boiling. This wasn't a mix-up, it was a full-on operation on my land. That night, I couldn't sit still, pacing my kitchen, staring at the woods. The next day, my lawyer helped me file a notarized statement with the sheriff, disavowing any knowledge or consent of the shed's use, and we sent the drone footage on an encrypted drive. I was done playing defense, I was taking my farm back. But instead of backing off, Lisa doubled down. A perfume letter arrived on thick cardstock. Sullivan, your property's been selected for adaptive easement reclamation under HOA Article 7, Section 3B. They wanted my shed and woods for their infrastructure plans. Another letter slapped me with the DO Law 750, good neighbor penalty for not joining their club. Then a kid in an HOA polo showed up with a chihuahua strapped to his chest, babbling about soil samples for their Floysul corridor. I shut the gate in his face. The chaos escalated. A landscaping crew tried to chop down my maples for overgrowth mitigation. HOA residents started walkthroughs near my property, snapping pics of my barn, my cows, even Scout. One woman photographed my chicken coop like she was on safari. By week's end, Greg was jittery. They're baiting you, Jake. And they were. 2 days later, Lisa strutted up my driveway with 2 goons in neon vests labeled Structural Assessment DVY Shown, claiming the shed was under HOA, Integrity Re VYEW. I laughed, pulled out my phone, and started recording. She didn't blink. You're complicating things, Jake. We could have teamed up. I grinned. Oh, we are just not how you think. Behind her, hidden by the trees, were 2 deputies and Greg, filming everything. She had no clue her reign was crumbling. The bust went down on a sweltering Thursday. I lingered by my barn, pretending to fix a gate, eyes locked on the woods. Greg had handed the sheriff a watertight case, photos, footage, financial trails tying Lisa to a shell company siphoning HOA funds. The shed was a drug drop, moving narcotics across state lines. At 2 p.m., her Escalade rolled in. She stepped out, pristine as ever, unlocked the shed, and signaled 2 men. As they loaded crates, the forest erupted. Sheriff's SUVs, day agents, drones swooping low. Hands up! A crate hit the ground, spilling shrink-wrapped bricks. Lisa, cuffed, sputtered, "I'm the HOA president." The agent didn't flinch. "You're under arrest, trespass, drugs, fraud, the works." She glared at me as they marched her past. I nodded. "Don't forget the HOA newsletter. This needs a big headline." They hauled her off, lights flashing, dust swirling. The shed's gone now, torn down, burned, seeded with wildflowers. The woods feel honest again. Lisa's facing trial, her face plastered on the news, screaming, cuffed, tight-lipped in court. The HOA ousted her unanimously. They might scrap the whole board. I don't care as long as they steer clear. My life simple again: new fences, motion lights, a sign on an oak stump. No more secrets. The farmer sees all, especially at night. Tourists think it's artsy, locals know the score. Am I bitter? Nah. I'm grateful the law held, my land's mine, and next time a clipboard comes knocking, I'll spot the storm a mile away.